ask him, what are we having for lunch? Okay, now tell him to settle down because it's time for the preacher. Have you ever had a moment in your life when you knew that something was ruined or broken? Like you forgot to set the timer on the food that was in the oven or on the smoker or on the grill, and you just knew, like some time went by and someone asked you, Dad, what's going on with the food? And you remembered you didn't set the timer, and you didn't even bother to look. You just started getting on DoorDash, okay, because you knew it was over. Or maybe it was that time where, you were getting out of your car, and you heard that noise on the pavement, and you knew that your phone fell out of your pocket, and you didn't even need to look. Like, you knew you were calling a Syrian, and you were going to have to pay that deductible for that $250, okay? You knew it was about to happen. Or maybe you drove just a little bit too long with your car on E. Has this ever happened? Am I the only one? I feel like we've talked about this a couple times before, like how many times I've run out of gas. Like, update, this happened to me a couple weeks ago too, okay? Like I was at work and it was cold outside and I wanted to warm my car up a little bit because there was ice on the windshield, and I knew I was on low. You know when it gets like, it's like the light comes on, but then you got a little bit longer before it goes on low. But when it's on low, you got about like 10 miles to go, right? See, you're surprised there's a science behind this, okay? I know all the facts. Apparently I don't know the facts because it keeps happening to me. Okay, so I'm in the car waiting for the ice to melt, but I'm trying to send an email. I'm doing the Lord's work. I'm at church, the church work, But the Lord's work apparently doesn't prevent me from running out of gas, okay? Because while the car was warming up and the car was on low and I was sending email, it just stopped, all right? And so, when this happens, you just know you're in trouble. And so we have these moments where we just understand that we're done. Things are over. It's finished. And we can laugh about this, but sometimes the stuff that we go through, it can be hard stuff. It can be difficult because it can be something like the end of a relationship or the end of a dream, or we are facing the end of our career or the end of something that was important to us. And when we see it coming, when you're faced with the facts that things are falling apart or things are finished, it can feel crushing. And now maybe you're an optimist. Do you have any people in this room who are very optimistic? Maybe too optimistic? Okay, I get it. I'm the optimist. And if you're an optimist, you like to look on the bright side and you like to have a positive outlook. And if that's you, you may look at the facts and the evidence in front of you and you may think, you know what? It's fine. It's fine. As I tell my wife, it's fine. I don't understand why you're upset. Like, it's okay. Being out of gas is fine. There's a lot of gas out there. Not here, but we'll get there. It's fine. I needed to go on the walk to the gas station in the cold when we ran out of gas on the side of the exit ramp in Ashtabula. This happened. It was a long time ago. I'm just remembering. But it was fine. See, here we are. I'm fine. It's fine. It's okay. We're going to rally. We're going to figure it out. I can fix it. This is the optimist thinks, right? It's not that burnt. I just scrape it off. Look, this happened to me on Thanksgiving. I was smoking a pre-cooked ham. How do you burn a pre-cooked ham? I was putting a glaze on it, okay, like a fancy glaze. And the glaze burnt, and I thought, I'm just going to tell the kids it's supposed to be like this. I'll cut the burnt part. Okay, DoorDash, okay. Oh, DoorDash ain't open today. All right, well, it's just turkey. That's what happened to me on Thanksgiving. But you know what? Maybe you can cut the ends off. Maybe you can scrape it off. It's just a little crack in the screen. It doesn't turn on anymore, but I needed to watch my screen time anyways. I don't even need this phone. I'm out of gas, but I needed the steps. It's okay. I like to walk. Some people are just positive. They look at the positive side of life. Now, if you're one of those always positive people, you might be convinced that no matter how bad things get, you can always make something out of nothing. lemonade out of lemons, as they say. And if you're spiritual, you might even say, hey, things might look bad, things might seem broken, but all I need is some good vibes and some positive thinking, and God is going to do something with this mess. That kind of message preaches. It preaches. We like to hear it. We like to stay optimistic. And if we add a little optimism with some spirituality, things are going to go our way. That's what we like to think. Now, for every optimist, there's someone who is married to the optimist, or someone who is best friends with the optimist, who can't stand the optimism. How many people think optimism is annoying? Turn to the optimist in your life and say, you're annoying. Don't say that, it's Easter. I was just kidding. That was a test. Don't say it. He is risen. Don't say that. Come on now. But it can feel annoying because sometimes there's things in life that you can't fix. Sometimes things are just broken. Sometimes things are just finished. And the optimist can seem extremely annoying or unrealistic because sometimes things are just hard and sometimes it's just over. Sometimes it's just broken. And this is why I love the book of Psalms, because the book of Psalms, it tells it like it is. It's a book of poems and songs that tell us to look at our life and be honest about it and express really difficult emotions back to God. It tells us that God can handle the things that we're going through. He wants to hear it. Even things like pain and frustration and grief and anger and loneliness. And you'll see all of these things in the Psalms, but the Psalms are also full of praise. The Psalms are full of praise and faith and confidence that God is going to turn defeat into victory. That God is going to take something that is broken and defeated, something that seems finished, and restore it and rebuild it and renew it. And we see this in Psalm chapter 16. David says, no wonder my heart is glad and I rejoice. My body rests in safety, for you will not leave my soul among the dead or allow your Holy One to rot in the grave. You will show me the way of life, granting me the joy of your presence and the pleasure of living with you forever. Now, if you know anything about the man who wrote this, if you know anything about David, and David, he's a king, he's a poet, but David's got a lot going on. David's life is full of drama, and I was going to say Jerry Springer level drama, but half of you don't even know who I'm talking about. Say amen if you know what I'm talking about. Okay, y'all watching that filth? I can't believe it, okay? But David didn't have issues. David had a whole subscription, okay, if you know what I'm saying. A whole subscription. So as an optimist, I love Psalms because I love David's attitude. I love David's attitude, especially here. Because, yeah, things might seem broken or dramatic. They might seem finished or ruined. But you know what? God's got it. He's got it. He's got me. And I know we have some people in this room who are optimistic like me, right? You feel the same way. And you might feel, all I need is some positivity, and God's going to fix it. Positive thoughts and a little bit of faith. Okay, the relationship is over. Okay, positive thoughts, a little bit of faith, it's going to work out. I got fired. Okay, positive thoughts, a little bit of faith, it's going to work out. I got hurt. I'm sick. I have an addiction. Positive thoughts, a little bit of faith, it's going to work out. Is that what we see here? Is that what David is saying? For you will not leave my soul among the dead or allow your Holy One to rot in the grave. You will show me the way of life, granting me the joy of your presence and the pleasures of living with you forever. Is that what David is saying? Is David saying, name it and claim it, believe it and see it, say it and receive it? Is that what David's saying? Is David saying that positive thoughts and a little bit of faith are going to fix it? Is that how we fix the broken stuff? Is that how we deal with life when things are broken and finished? Let's revisit this passage, but I want to do it from a different angle, from a different lens. And so what we're going to do is we're going to move forward about 900 years from the book of Psalms all the way to the book of Acts. And we're going to go to Acts chapter 2. And if you know anything about Acts, you understand, or if you don't know about Acts, it's a story about the apostles and the start of the church after the death and resurrection of Jesus. This is the story about how the church grew and exploded all over the world. And in Acts chapter 2, we see Peter, the apostle Peter, giving a sermon to a group of thousands of people in Jerusalem. And in this sermon, Peter is going to quote David. Peter is going to quote the same psalm that we read that was written 900 years before Peter says it. 900 years before this sermon. And here's what Peter says. He's quoting David. I see the Lord is always with me. I will not be shaken, for he was right beside me. No wonder my heart is glad and my tongue shouts his praises. And my body rests in hope. For you will not leave my soul among the dead or allow your Holy One to rot in the grave. You have shown me the way of life, and you will fill me with the joy of your presence. So Peter is quoting David, the same psalm we just read. And if you read this passage and you assumed it was about positivity and a good attitude being the source of our healing, well, Peter's he's gonna spoil your Easter morning. I'm just gonna let you know. Because Peter is going to tell us what this psalm is really about. Here's what he says. Dear brothers, think about this. You can be sure that David wasn't referring to himself. For David's dead. David was buried. And his tomb is right here. You can go visit his grave. But David was looking into the future and speaking of Jesus' resurrection. He was saying that God would not leave Jesus among the dead or allow his body to rot in the grave. God raised Jesus from the dead, and we are all witnesses of this. Now he is exalted to the place of highest honor in heaven at God's right hand. And so Peter's saying, look, that passage is not about positivity or optimism or happy thoughts as the cure to fixing what's broken. That's not what it's about. This passage isn't about having self-confidence or a little bit of faith to heal what feels finished or ruined. In fact, this passage isn't even about David. It's not even about him. And it's not about you either. Psalm 16, written 900 years ago, is about Jesus. Psalm 16 is about God's power to heal and restore what is broken. Is about God's power to bring renewal. But that power starts and ends with Jesus. So this poem written by David is not about optimism, not about positive thinking as a tool to recover or heal from frustration or anger or letdown. Because optimism, and I need you to hear this, optimism and positive thoughts or positive thinking and self-confidence, while all those things are great, they're all great, those things always place you as the source or the solution. And so what we can sometimes think is that if I have the right mindset, or if I have the right attitude, and if I can manifest the right vision, then I can fix it. And then if we're spiritual, we'll add God into the mix, because what we'll do is we'll demand that God give you what you demand. So if I have the right attitude and I believe in God, well, God will give me what I demand. God will fix it in the way I want it to. All I got to do is believe and think, and he'll do it for me. And he better. He better. Otherwise, he ain't God and he ain't real, right? So this is what we do. This is what we do. He'll give me what I ask. If he's true, he'll give me what I ask. If he loves me, he'll give me what I ask. But when we do this, and we all do this, don't we? We all do it. When we do this, we are making ourselves the source of power. And ultimately, we're making ourselves into God. We become God. And we expect that the Creator will answer to our demands. The problem is, we're not good at being God. We're not good at being God because we burn the ham. And we crack our phones. And we run out of gas, like more than once. But Jesus doesn't have those same deficiencies. Peter says, but God raised him from death to life, and destroyed the pains of death, because death had no power to hold him. Now, when death has no power to hold you, then you get to be God. But until then, you're not. Death has no power to hold Jesus. So Jesus must become the center. So what brings life and healing and renewal in your life is not your attitude or your optimism. It's not. It's nothing you manifest or dream into existence. What brings life and healing and renewal in your life is the mighty power of the resurrected Jesus. That's it. He is the source. He is the healer. He is the living water. So yes, God can renew. He will. He does. Yes, God can restore. Yes, God can heal what feels finished, but not because you believed hard enough. Not because you stayed positive long enough. Not because you held it together or performed well enough. He heals and renews and restores because Jesus walked out of the grave. And that same power that raised him from the dead is the power that works in you. It's not about you, but it is in you. Restoration doesn't come from you, but it lives inside of you. Healing doesn't come from you, but it lives inside of you. So where does it come from? Who does the work? What's the source? Go ahead and turn to the person next to you and tell him one more time, always, only Jesus. Go ahead. Always, only Jesus. Where's that healing come from? Say it again. Always, only Jesus. Where's that restoration come from? Go ahead, one more time. Always, only Jesus. Like only two of you ever been to a Pentecostal church before. Only two of you. Okay. Always, only Jesus. There we go. Now we're getting it. And now what's fascinating is that the Bible tells us in Romans chapter 8, verse 11, the spirit of him who raised Jesus from the dead is living in you. Do we have that up here? No, we don't have it, okay. The spirit of him who raised Jesus from the dead is living in you. Do you understand what that means? What it means is that the resurrection wasn't just something that happened 2,000 years ago. The resurrection is something that Jesus is doing now in you. 9 a.m., 10 a.m., 7:05, 11:32, Tuesday, Wednesday, Friday. at work, at home. The resurrection is inside of you. When you're crying, when you're laughing, when you're weeping, when you're rejoicing, when you're arguing, when you're frustrated, when you're broke, when you're homeless, when you're sleeping outside, when you're on the top of the mountain, when you're in the valley, when you run out of gas and burn the ham and drop the phone, resurrection is inside of you in that very moment, alive in the power of Christ. There's my Pentecostal friends. There you are. The resurrection is something that's happening inside of you right now. The same Spirit, the same power, the same love that pulled Jesus out of the grave lives inside of all who call him Lord. And we're all calling something Lord, right? We're all calling something Lord. And when you wake up in the morning and you open it up, my guess is you're going to go to whatever is Lord, right? You're going to check it on your notifications. You're going to see it on your screen. You're going to check it 3 times a day. That's the thing that's going to make you upset. It's the thing that's going to make you excited, whatever you call Lord. And so we all get a choice. We all get a choice on what we want to call Lord. And it's Easter Sunday, and I'm not going to do an altar call, but we all get a decision what we're calling Lord. We all get to worship something. And all those things that we're worshiping, they don't give us life. But the power of resurrection is something real and living inside of all of us if we only choose to call the resurrected one Lord and King. But we have a choice. We have a choice. Now for some of you, this feels real because you see the power of God all around you. Maybe you're the optimist. For others, you want to see it, but you're not the optimistic type. And you have seen your fair share of hardship and broken things. And it seems like you are surrounded by defeat and chaos and ruin, and you cannot see your way out of it. And as I look at your faces, I know that some of you, is there something wrong with that? No. I spent so much time in that space. It's okay. God hears you. Say it out loud. It's okay. It's okay. But when the preacher starts talking about living in resurrection power, you're a little skeptical because you just see the defeat everywhere. You see the chaos everywhere. And if Jesus is so big and powerful, and you have the Spirit of resurrection living inside of you, then you'd think that things would look different. You'd think that things would feel different. And if that's you, I want to give you something to think about. Resurrection doesn't always look like reversal. Jesus doesn't always put the pieces together like you imagined he would. Sometimes the healing doesn't come the way you wanted it to. And I'm going to prove this to you, and I'm going to tell you the story about one of the most influential preachers in American history. And I want you to go through your mind and think about all the influential preachers that you can think about. No, Joel Osteen ain't the one I'm thinking about, okay? It's also not me, believe it or not, okay? Who's on your list? You think about maybe Jonathan Edwards or D.L. Moody, Dr. King, Billy Graham, Howard Thurman, Gardner C. Taylor, Billy Sunday. Who are you thinking about? But most of you are not thinking about Jeraina Lee. Miss Lee was born in New Jersey in the late 1700s. In Isaiah 61, it says, the train of his robe filled the temple. Isaiah 61, the train of his robe filled the temple. Menor Avenue, 1289. The train of Painesville filled the altar church. Miss Lee was born in New Jersey in the late 1700s, and she became a Christian as a young woman when she heard a sermon by a bishop named Richard Allen. And Miss Lee was so moved by this sermon that she wanted to go do the same thing. Hey, I heard the preacher, and because I heard that sermon and that preacher speak about Jesus, it moved me so deeply. I want to go speak about Jesus too. She heard the sermon, she wanted to tell the world. But instead of following this calling, she got married. She got married to a pastor, and they had 2 children, but her husband died 7 years into their marriage. But this ordeal, the grief, strengthened her resolve. She wanted to tell people about Jesus, about what Jesus had done in her life, and how Jesus had shown himself, his resurrection power through her grief. And so she went to that same Bishop Allen. She said, Bishop Allen, you are a great preacher, and I want to be a preacher too. And you know what Bishop Allen said? No. Because you are a woman. Now this is the 1820s. And no one will listen to you. So she sat in this rejection. And she sat in this rejection. She felt called by God, but rejected by the church. But resurrection power does some strange things. And at church one Sunday, the guest speaker stand up to give a sermon. In the middle of the sermon, the guest speaker stopped talking. Did he forget what he wanted to say, or did God shut his mouth? I don't know what happened, but he just stopped talking. And so Ms. Lee, she stood up and she started preaching. This woman who was told no just got up and started preaching the word. And Bishop Allen, yes, this powerful preacher, but also this man who didn't quite get it, was so moved. He said, yeah, God is doing something. And so Miss Lee, she preached and she didn't stop, because Bishop Allen says, yeah, you need to get out of here and go preach everywhere. And that's what she did. She started preaching, she didn't stop. And she went around the country telling people about the resurrection power of Jesus. And let me tell you that Miss Lee was the first black woman preacher in the United States of America. She was a leader in the movement to abolish slavery, and the first black woman in American history to write an autobiography. And in 2016, she was finally ordained as a pastor by her denomination 161 years after her death. Listen, and I'm not going to call this woman Mrs. Lee, I'm going to call her Pastor Lee. Pastor Lee never would have chosen to lose her husband. She never would have chosen to be denied or rejected or looked down upon or looked over. No one wants to choose that. But let me tell you, that's what God used. Because resurrection power doesn't choose the easy road. Hear me. Resurrection power doesn't choose the easy road, but it does change the world. Resurrection power doesn't choose the easy road, but it does change every road and direct it towards the kingdom of God. That's what it does. So what seems broken or finished in your life? Can you think about that? Where has optimism failed you? Where have good vibes and self-confidence let you down? Is it your health? Is it your career? Is it your children or your marriage? What does resurrection power look like in those spaces? Maybe it's not reversal. Maybe the pieces won't get put back together the way you wanted. Maybe things won't get better. Maybe you won't get it back. Maybe it won't get healed the way you hoped. But remember, the spirit of resurrection lives inside of you. The spirit of the living God lives inside of you. And that spirit always gives life. Always restores, always heals. And maybe it's not the way that you want it or demand it, but it always heals, always restores, always gives life. But it always does it in the most unexpected ways. Always unexpected. At the place where Jesus was crucified, there was a garden, and in the garden, a new tomb. A tomb which no one had ever been laid, because it was a Jewish day of preparation, and since the tomb was nearby, they laid Jesus there. And that's on Friday. And there's Saturday. Saturday is a day of silence, disappointment, crying, unmet expectations. But early, on the first day of the week, while it was still dark, Sunday morning, Mary Magdalene went to the tomb and saw that the stone had been removed from the entrance. Who would have thought that a story that looked finished, a story that had so much suffering and grief and disappointment, would end in such glory? That's the same thing that we will say about you. Not through your power or optimism or confidence, but in and through our resurrected Jesus.